Hi,
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
All right, my friends. It's time to get our talk on. It's Morning Talk with me, your host, J. Stan McCauley, along with the champions of talk. And, of course, this morning we have talk champion Cleo Duke-Wright in Studio 1A. And it's time to get underway. So, good morning, Miss Cleo. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing fine.
It's good to see you. You had a good week?
I had a pretty good week. Pretty busy as usual, but I had a pretty good week. Yes.
Well, it's good to see you. Good to see you. You weren't here last week. I called in. I think I called in. I didn't call in sick. I called in tired.
Yes.
I called in tired, so I haven't seen you in.
I was all dressed to come to the show, and I was about to get up and walk out the door trying to be on time for it. And you made a telephone call, and I said, oh. And so my son said, he's tired, he got to rest. I said, yes, he's tired, he's got to rest. I was all dressed. I said, I'm going out.
Well, you know,
I went out for coffee, and then I came back, and I kept my clothes on as I washed the dishes and did those housekeeping things that you need to do. And I miss it when I don't come, and I have a good imagination. I could do anything with mine. So I just made my day really really good, and it was really full, and I had a good time Friday.
Well, that's good. That's good.
I missed you. I missed the show, but I had a good time.
Well, I always miss you when you're not here. I miss the program. Whenever we don't do a program, I miss it because I like the conversation, and of course, while I can conversate with my wife, as any wife will tell you, that the husband voice, while she appreciates him, wears thin quickly, because can you just go somewhere and be quiet by yourself? Good. I'm trying to think. It's like, if it's, honey, guess what? Oh, here we go. And women are so nice about that. Wives are so nice. They listen to the husband, go on and on about the same thing for 20 years, Just, so.
Oh, I'm glad that, Stan, that is so very true. You have to turn a deaf ear. Because, you're looking at a TV show or so, you're reading, and you got this voice in your ear. Cleo, will you do this? Cleo. And sometimes there's nothing after the Cleo. You need to be quiet, because their voices are heavier, and I can't hear anything. It just drives me nuts when I'm trying to do something and somebody just keeps talking, but it's only those two at home, they just keep on talking to me. Why do they always have to talk to me? Why can't they get on their phones and talk to somebody else? But it's very important that they tell me their little things and their little.
Well, I think that's one of the greatest acts of love, if you will, that wives do, is listen to their husbands. And I don't know if the husband processes it quite that way, but they should. Is that your wife listens to you, and I mean, she listens to you during her time, because there's a time I generally go up and I'll, because we could be in the house well, not now, because the height of the pandemic is kind of on the downslide. But both of us work from home. And at one time, of course, for a year and a half, the kids were here. So we could be in the house all week, without going anywhere. We go shop and stuff like that. But nonetheless, but we're at home all day. So she's in the house all day. I'm in the house all day. We go out because she takes the kids to school. I pick them up from school. So we go out of the house to get the kids. But then I do my program at night. So right before I get ready to come on the air at night, I'll go upstairs. And she has this area upstairs where she sits down and she reads. My wife loves to read. She can't get enough. I think if she could read 2 or 3 books at the same time,
she'd do that.
She would. Readers they just consume. They can't wait to get a book. They get a book. They feel the book.
Oh,
they smell the book.
That's right.
They look at the print.
Right.
They look at the pages. It's like it's like food.
That is, you said something. That is so true. Because there are certain books that I wouldn't buy for the bookstore because they didn't feel well. They didn't feel good. I'd get that. I would get that book, but I'd have to have it in a different. It couldn't be that book. Those little books.
Mm-hmm.
Their pages feel so horrible that I could never do that. So I had to upgrade the book because I couldn't stand those books. Unless someone actually really ordered them, I would never ever buy one. And books do smell, and they do become your friend. They do become your friend, really, because a book, you're sitting down and you really love the book because you see the characters, you feel the characters, and then at the end of the book, it's over. There is a little
sadness.
Little sadness there. And,
they're like saying goodbye to the old friend.
Yes. And you put that book up on the shelf and you say, I'll come back. I'll read you again. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
Mm-hmm.
But I have books that I read all of the time. I've had them for years. And I just keep going back and reading them. I mean, you watch stories that you love on TV over and over again.
That's right.
Over and over again. Well, it's the same thing as a book. And especially with me, with the storytelling books, there are storytelling books that I really love. And I just read those stories over and over again to get the picture. And I could see the people as clear as day. That's just clear as day.
Well, I think that's very true of all people who consume books. Because the people I talk to that read all have similar stories. But you're talking about the page. That's the first time I've heard someone describe the page. But I can see what you're talking about, and so it's like it's reading is a sensual experience in that the senses, you only have 5 senses, and everything is through the sensory realm. But a book is what you're seeing, but you feel the pages. So it's like that's how you connect with the book. It's through the page. So if the pages don't feel right, I would imagine that you got a page turner, but the pages don't feel right when you turn them. And I guess different books have different textures of the paper.
And I can feel it right now.
And you can feel it, and then the smell of the book while you're reading it, the ink, the whatever where they use to process the wood to turn it into paper, all that all that stuff. So I can see that very easily.
So the books will not ever go away. People will say, "Why don't you get a reader? What is the computer?
Oh, like a
reader,
a Kindle or
yeah, I do that if I'm researching something.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm researching something, or especially biblically, I have those on my iPad and my phone, so when I'm studying something, I could turn to something
mm-hmm.
on the phone. But if I'm reading, but I also have them in books, that I could sit down and study and relax. And that's just like the most relaxing thing is to sit down and.
That's so interesting. I'm not a reader. I hate reading. It's just laborious. It takes time. It's like work, But I appreciate reading. Now I will, of course, read the life-changing, life-giving, everlasting word of the Most High God. So that's the only thing I really read with a ferociousness is the Bible. So I kind of sense what you're talking about because I just ordered a new Bible.
The Bible is the best book. The Bible is actually the best book, but there are some Bibles that are not comfortable to read.
Well, yes,
depending on the size of the print, the size of the Bible, the pages don't turn easily. All Bibles are not comfortable.
All Bibles are not comfortable, and all Bibles are not. Well, I shouldn't say they're not all equal, but I got this. I wanted a pocket Bible, and this will actually fit in my back pocket. It looks like a whole Bible, but it's just a New Testament.
I never do that.
This is just a New Testament. It's not a whole Bible. I thought it was a whole Bible when it came, but this is the Jimmy Swaggart Counselor's Edition. Now I had one of these, but it was half the thinness of this, and it was just a little bit bigger. But it was in the feel of it in your hands. It's hard to describe. But this Bible, believe it or not, has the same feel. It has the same feel. It's like a glove. It's like you're holding a glove. Because you can see how it's.
It looks like a comfortable Bible.
Like it would, it would just fold all the way over if it wasn't for the. And when you open it, there's just something about, and I would swear that Jimmy Swaggart had this Bible design, like, because I don't know if you all even remember Jimmy Swaggart. Most of our audience remembers Jimmy Swaggart, but he would preach, and his Bible always seemed to me to like flow. It was like a cloth blowing in the wind, like a flag. And this Bible has that feel. But the print is, you can read the print. The print is big enough to read. I have a pocket Bible. It's an Old Testament and a New Testament, and it's smaller than this. It's like half the size of this.
Can you read it?
But you can't read it. It's useless. It may as well be a brick. Even with glasses, you can't read anything like So it's of no value, no use other than, unless you want a virtue signal and show someone that you walk around with a Bible. But if you can't read it, what difference? What difference does it make? But I get that. I can understand what you're talking about if I relate it to the Bible. But the Jimmy Swaggart, this Counselor's Bible is interesting because the words in red here are not the words of Jesus. And I don't know if you can see all the red on that.
Yeah, I can see the red.
The words in red are all of the commentary. This Bible is more commentary than the word. Okay. And so this is it's a counselor's edition. So if you were going to go to somebody's house and talk to them about a problem or whatever the case is, or if you're just going to read word, there's a little commentary on every single verse.
Couldn't you have gotten that in in the full Bible?
I don't know. This is a hard Bible to get. I was searching for the one I had. This is, I guess I don't know. But this is New Testament. Maybe there's an Old Testament version of this,
But look, I can tell you right now, just from sitting over here, the way the pages are flipping, that's a nice Bible to read.
Oh yeah.
That's a really.
Yeah, this is a nice Bible. But this is the Bible. This one is nice too.
That's
This is a Dakes.
Yes, mine is bigger than that.
This is a Dakes Bible.
I don't thinner that?
No, yours is not bigger than this. This is the big. This is the large.
I have one that when my friend died, they gave it to me, but it's very. I couldn't hold it like you're holding that. I couldn't hold it like that.
Oh, well, this is huge. I stumbled on the Dakes Bible because I went to the Christian bookstore in Rocky Hill. This is 1980.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked the guy at the counter, I says, I want the largest Bible you have. The physically largest Bible, leather bound. And he came out with that. And that's how I got it. I didn't know anything about it. It's a great Bible, but it's not a Bible for folks who are reading a Bible for the first time.
No.
That's not because there's
so much.
There's commentary in it, and the commentary, some of the commentary is not scriptural, and some of the commentary is, it comes out of a time when, race issues in America were, sketchy to say the least, and so there's commentary in there that speaks against interracial marriage. So, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but other stuff is solid and right on. But you have to be careful with commentary Bibles, because Bibles that have commentary are just opinions. You may be talking to me or someone else. It's just somebody's opinion about something.
And that's why you got to read more than one. I always do more than one commentary, but I love this Bible that my friend gave me. It's not really. It's The Messenger. Have you heard of that? The whole Bible's a commentary, and so sometimes I take the two of them, my Bible, and I take the commentary, and I do the internet, and I have so many commentary Bibles and that you keep looking.
The I've heard of The Messenger.
Yeah, it's for the common reader, but I wouldn't
have
it without, because it skips verses 2 through 9. You don't read it without having the Bible with you. That's just my opinion.
Those are what some might say a little sketchy, if you will. This here is the MacArthur Study Bible, and this was given to me as a gift from Barbara Pease. She was a member of Light Source Ministries for many years. The MacArthur Study Bible. It's a nice Bible. This is a nice Bible. But the problem with it, of course, is that it's hardcover. And you have to. I don't like hardcover books. I mean Bibles.
I have both. Depending, I have both, but I would prefer not to have a hardcover. But If I do, it's all right. I don't have a big opinion on it.
It's like walking around with a portable desk. You know.
Really?
Yeah, because it's like you're walking around. You know. Well, that's a nice. I guess the good thing about a hardcover is that the cover acts like a platform.
I have a small Bible that I took with me everywhere till it just
Fell
ripped
apart.
apart. The cover ripped off, but I still loved that Bible. I used to carry it in my car all the time. Because you're reading and all of a sudden you want to look up a verse and you don't have a Bible in the car. That's so frustrating to me. Now I got to look it up on my phone. They don't like to do.
Interesting book, the Bible. So, I guess as for a lot of people, the Bible is just a book of stories. That some people hate it. There are folks who think it should be banned because they attribute to it all the social ills of the world, and
it should be banned. Well, I've never heard that. But.
Oh my! Well, it's one thing. It's it's because of the Bible that I'm a big free speech advocate. Because people are killed for reading the Bible and having Bibles around the world. People are persecuted.
Yes.
It's the one thing that will get you killed is preaching a word. So I became a big free speech advocate because of all the things that upset people. Very few people will kill you over something that you say, like they will kill you over the Bible. So, it's very offensive to some people.
Well, I had a daughter-in-law that I guess it was offensive to her because she told my grandchildren how much she hated God, and I was just
thunderstruck.
I said, "Oh my God!" And my mother, mothers in the formative years of a child have more power over that child than I think anybody else.
Absolutely.
So here, you have to wait. You have to talk, and you have to wait till that child gets of a certain age where they begin to think for themselves, and everything mother says is not gospel. Because the influence that a woman has over children sometimes is, I look at it and is horrible sometimes. It's good if the mother is good, but it's horrible if the mother is she can just cause so much havoc. I think more than a father, if they have both mother and father in their lives.
Well, I think you're right. And mothers have the ultimate authority over the children.
Yes. I think mothers are the most powerful people in the world. They because they have such power over their children. And it takes a long time to get over mother. Even when mother is totally wrong, it takes a lifetime to get over mother, to get over what she taught you, what you believed, and you grow up and you see things that are not as mother said, but you want to believe, but it takes a long time to convince yourself that mother is wrong. Mother is not right. Mother did not tell me the truth. Whether she thought she was telling me the truth or not, mother did not tell me the truth. And so it takes a lifetime.
Well, mother, excuse me, mother is that powerful. Mother yes. does have that kind of an effect, as she should. I mean, mother gives birth not yes. only to you but also to your ideas in many cases. That's the power of mom, and mother has the ultimate control over the child.
That's right.
That is what mom
is
supposed to do.
Joseph Campbell, in one of his books. I forgot the name of it, but he wrote of how the man in primitive time, the family would be in the center, and the men would surround the family because of protecting them, and then they would move on because it was his ultimate job to protect the family. So and he went on to say, men are losing their identity because that protection that they once had was kind of going away. I'm not saying it as eloquently as he did, but I'm trying to just sort of the picture that I got in my mind while I was reading it was a circle of men around their families,
Mm-hmm.
and they took on whatever they had to take on to protect the family and
Mm-hmm.
to protect their children.
Mm-hmm.
And our society has kind of dwindled that away because as mistakenly as this thought is, and it is a great mistake, that I think that women, there's lots of women who don't think they actually need men.
Well,
Except to pass on the seed. After that, what have I heard women say to men? Excuse this language. I don't need you for shit.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have women said that these days? Because a man has kind of lost his identity in some ways. Where when I was coming up, the guy used to run around the car and open the door for you. Now open your own door. No, dude. I mean, you do everything else. Open the door. But that was one thing that my aunt, when she was living, said about women. She says they don't understand. They need their man. They need the man. You can't go out without the man. But I guess we'll evolve, and we're learning that you can't do it by yourself.
Well, women and men are different, obviously.
Yes, obviously, yes.
They absolutely complete each other, and the species can't continue without a woman and a man, or a male and a female. And there are different roles. One is not better than the other.
Right.
They are different.
They complete each other.
And they complete each other. Right. It's like two halves of a whole. I mean, one half isn't better than the other half. They're just a whole. They to be a complete thing, you need all of the parts. And so the role of women is different than the role of men. There's not one that's greater than the other. They're just different. Men cannot do what women do. And women, despite what many would say so, cannot do what men do. They just can't. They're designed specifically to do different things.
Men cannot do what women would, but it appears that women feel that they could do what men could do. Women think they could do what men could do, and that so they could have the babies and raise them and go out and make the living and protect the blah blah blah. Listen, I'm one. When I was young, I thought I could do everything and I could do it alone, and it took me most of my life to realize that that's not true, and that's why you're in the position that you're in, because you're not full. You can't. You weren't made to be alone. We were not made to be out there all by ourselves doing everything.
That's true.
We weren't made that way.
You talked about the role of mother. Now, it would seem in an ideal situation, because if you look at the role of male and female outside of the human being, the role is pretty clear. And so, since the children are a byproduct of the mother is the main influencer for children.
Yes.
All right. The mother is the main influencer of children, and the father is the protector of the mother and children and the abode in which they seek comfort and safety. And so, if you don't have the protector, then the mother has to do that. And you cannot, despite the attempts of many, multitasking is a nice concept, but it is for the most part impossible. You can only execute one task at a time. You may be effective enough to do a multiple of tasks, one after the other, in quick succession. So it may look like it's all happening at once, but you can only do one thing at a time. So if you are protecting and working, then the children are open for influence from something else. So you get rid of all of the men and force the mothers to have to work, then something else influences the children. If you want to get political, then it's the government. You want to get spiritual, then it's the devil. Idle minds, the devil's playground, as they say. So, how do you need both? There are certain things that are man-centric. There are certain things that are female or woman-centric. And you need the balance of the two. You need the balance of the two.
Man thinks he could switch roles. He thinks that he can make this, that, and change things around when he is not the creator of these things.
Right.
So he, just because you can force people to act a certain way does not mean that is so. And that's going to work. And we found out in our daily lives that it has gone a bunk, that it does not work, that women were ostracized for being mothers and being home with their children. You remember that period of our history where women, you don't do anything.
Well, that's absurd.
Absurd, but so women were forced themselves to go out because they wanted to be, in society. They wanted the people to respect them, so they went out, and their children were left alone in the home, like a little 8-year-old boy said to me after when I was doing an after-school program. I go home and I get on the bench, I get the dog leash off and I take the dog for a walk, and then I come home and lock the doors, and I sit down and I watch television. He just started telling me this one day, and I just sit there. Both of his parents were lawyers, and he said, and the last thing he said was, I'm only 8 years old. That was the last thing. I'm only 8 years old. He did not like this, coming home to an empty house with no one there, and he having these things and sitting there waiting for his parents to come home. And I really felt bad, and I wanted to tell his parents when they came, but I didn't tell them anything because he's the one that had to tell them. I wasn't gonna tell them if they didn't see that, because they were very business. I was in this after school program that was it was one of the suburb. I won't tell you what town. It was one of the suburban schools, and it was a strange place for me to see children act like these children did. Very strange place for me, and they felt they had all kinds of authority, but they were just children. So we came to blows because we had to realize, no matter who you are still a child, and I still am an adult, and you still will go over there. And as they threatened my job, I will have you fired. I will have you this. I said, well, tomorrow you'll have me that, but today you're going to sit. You're going to sit right there. You know, I had fun with them toward the end of the school year, but it was a difficult transition for them to have me there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just, you know, they didn't have parents home. But I could remember wonderful times when you come home from school and you walk into your house and your mom's there and she has snack for you and she says, all right, take off your school clothes and, you know, put on you always had to take off your school clothes and put on some other kind of clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And she'd give you snack and she would just be there and she'd probably have started dinner by that time. So the house smelled kind of nice and the sun was shining through the windows and everything was beautiful. And Mom was there. It was horrible when Mom went to work. I can remember coming home to an empty house. That was not pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
That was not pleasant because it was so much more pleasant when she was home. Because she had a lot to say and we had a lot to tell her. And she listened to our little stories. So,
well, I know one of the things that I think my daughters like. Well, I don't even need to think they like. I know they like because I pick them up from school every day. They can't wait to get home so they can talk to their mother. They don't talk to me in the car. You know, I'm the basic transportation. They used to talk to me a lot more. But as they get older and become young women, they can't wait to get home and talk to their mother. And they come in and they talk about this. So, I mean, I have a general conversation. So how was school? It was good. So anything happened today that was, you know, dramatic? No. You know, they give you some light stuff and things like that.
Daddy's always listening.
Yeah, I'm listening. But as soon as they get home, they can't. They like make a beeline right to her. And of course, they check to see if she's in a work kind of state. Because, you know, she worked remotely. There's a lot of remote interfacing with the rest of your colleagues online. And so as long as she's not online, they'll run in and they'll just strike up conversation and they unload and share all the data. And she does homework with them. And they still do my one daughter still does milk and cookies. You know, we call her a large baby, a 6 foot. She was a preemie. It's hilarious. She was a preemie. I could hold her in my hands. Nia. She's taller than her mother now. She looked like a full-grown little teenage girl. And she's 11. She acts like she's 5. So it's bizarre to see this big girl and she could still get in the full fetal position. Knees up to her chin. She can fold up in full fetal, knees up, legs flat, and she could squeeze underneath a couch. You wouldn't know she was there. That's how flat she can get herself. And she sits like that all the time, watching her little things on Roblox, and she has her little squeezy things. I always take it away from her, and so her little comfy things, and it's so funny because she looks like this big baby. I call her the big baby, which she loves because she's the youngest child. But she'll run in and she'll talk to her mom about all kinds of stuff, and they mom raises the children. She gives them their direction as to where they should go and what choices they should make. And I think that it's unfortunate that society has taken away the grandeur, the glory of being a mom, as though it somehow subjugates women to the authority of man, or she shouldn't have to be at home raising her children. And I wonder the attitude of people who say such a thing. It's almost like saying, well, he shouldn't have to be forced to go out and get a job. There's this subset of people who either don't like that things are done, don't want to do those things, or angry at other folk that do those things. So they belittle those things. So, individuals have to really know their worth and value in terms of what they provide. And look at society now. Look at the society. The mayor of New York just got finished talking about how he's going to have these teams to gun suppression, go out task force teams and mental health people on the streets and these task forces, because guns have gotten so out of control in New York City as well as other cities. But you have all this violence from the young people. You have young people who are not in great states of mind. And then there's this talk about how their households aren't right. As quietly as it's kept, it's not just within minority communities or in urban communities. It's across the spectrum. Mm-hmm. And where you have societies that the roles of women and the roles of men have departed from what used to be the norm, you see the ill effects of the society. Now they're trying to fix with all these outside things, and the answer is strengthen the home.
Mother, go home. Mother, go home, or father, go home. Somebody go home.
Someone
and take
go
care of the
home,
children.
take care of your kids.
Somebody go home and take care of the children. That's all. It's
your kids. Take care of your kids. They need you.
They need you. They need you. It would look different today if somebody stayed home with the children. Work part-time every once in a while so you can get sociability. Because I know that there were mothers who stayed home until their children were out and were so afraid of socializing because they only talk to children all the time that they were afraid to go out. Even this one woman told me one time she was even afraid to make a hairdresser's appointment. She wouldn't even go to but we don't want it to be that bad. Mm-hmm. But we still need to stay home. Somebody needs to stay home with the children.
Someone needs to stay home with the children. I think that because otherwise the children by default are designed to be influenced. That's how they learn. They're influenced by everything around them. They're influenced by the rising of the sun, by the color. When the leaves change color, they're influenced by salamanders, by crickets, ants, flies, the person next door, mm-hmm. the bum on the street, the drug dealer, the doctor, the lawyer, the teacher. That's what they do. They learn from what they're exposed to. And if they don't have anyone to protect them and look out for their best interests, no one looks out for the interests of a child like the child's mother. No one. No one. The government is not going to run into the street and lift a car off their child. They're just not. If the father goes south and want to bring harm to the child, the mother will kill him.
Yes.
So no one looks out for the children like a mom. I don't care how much you pay them. I don't care what institute you send them to. I don't care what special school they go to. I don't care how much the school costs. No one looks out for the children like the mom. And society is making mom an enemy of the children. It's absurd. It's absurd. And so, they tell you, well, you should go to work and put your kids in daycare. Well, we're not sure you're raising your children right, so we're going to send some officials over your house to make sure you've got proper food. As though the mother doesn't want to do everything she can to feed her child. I mean, it's absurd. It's absurd. So
then you get to the point of our social work system. Our social workers who have much, much too much power. Much too much power over families instead of helping families to stay together. Maybe that mother does need help. Maybe that mother does need nurturing. Well, nurture her.
Right.
Don't take her children first. Nurture the mother.
Yeah.
You know, if it's just like the churches who used to we used to try to run church schools with children and do all of these things with children, and the parents weren't involved. Well, it didn't work until we went out and talked to the parents. When we had a relationship with the parents, it was much easier with the children. Well, but you have to take care of the parent, because the parent takes care of the child. But our social system is
warped.
Yes, it is. Very warped.
It's warped. It's warped, and it's counter. The solution is counterintuitive. So here's a mother with two small human beings. And the solution is to take the two small human beings from her, put them in a system that requires resources, because you have to take care of the two children. The two children have to be taken care of by an adult. The adult has to be supervised. Best practices, policies, and procedures need to be written. The people who write the best practices, policies, and procedures need to have supervisors to make sure that those procedures and policies are solid, based on certain things. So you have to have PhDs and philosophers and all these other kinds of people convened to come up with the system that should be able to supplant the mother. And you get into costs and more costs, where the real fix would be to give the mother the things she needs to be able to be a good mom. You could do that with like really one grounded older person to help the mom. Mm-hmm. Whatever she needs would be far less expensive than taking her two kids, even one. But to take two kids or just one kid from her and then someone else try to supplant the mother, because they're not going to care about the kid or the child. They're not going to care about the child like the mom. They're just not. Even the mother in her worst state cares about her kids. And then there's family who actually care about the kid too. You think they will care? Absolutely not. So it's not. The social system is broken because it doesn't help the correct individual that has the need. The children don't have, now let me say this correctly and make sure you all listen correctly. The children don't have a need. The mother has a need because the children need their mother. They need their mom. That's what they need. So they need a functioning mom. And if the mom is dysfunctional, you give her the things she needs to fix her. So in the Bible says, pure religion is this: to take care of the fatherless and the widows. If you take care of the mother, the children will be fine. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Take care of the mother and the children will be fine.
This judge, this couple were getting a divorce, and they couldn't agree on anything, and they decided. The judge said to them, "I want you to go into that room, whatever they send the mothers and the fathers to make decisions." He said, "I want you to go in that room, and I want you to make the decisions, because if you don't make the decisions, other people will make the decision. We'll make the decision, and we don't know your children, and we don't know you. You are the best ones to make the decisions, because there will be strangers making decisions for your children." And she was absolutely, of course, they never came to terms. And the judge gave them the best advice, and she probably, because she was so absolutely true. That was so absolutely true. Do not have strangers making decisions for your children. You make them.
That's profound.
You make them. And of course, this couple did not listen. So it went amok, and the children ultimately, and the family, couldn't do too much. It went amok, and the children suffered greatly, still suffering greatly because of this, because the parents could not make decisions. I think that they should have taken the parents and worked with them and left the children be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
they should have taken the parents.
Yeah,
because that's the only thing that's going to do any good. Now, you have years and years of chaos for the children, and going into adolescency, going into adulthood. They're going to have to find their own way, and to me, that's unfair.
I think that is grossly unfair. I think you make a good point, and part of what we have in society is the result of the thinking, thinking in opposition or against the advice that the judge made. Her advice was absolutely right. So if you don't make decisions for your children, people who don't care about your children will make decisions for them. And when I say they don't care, I mean they don't care. Now, some have hostile intent toward your children. Mm-hmm. So if they have hostile intent toward your children, or don't like children, or think that the children shouldn't be a burden to society or shouldn't even be here, then what makes anybody think that they're going to look out for your children's best interest? And so when you hear people say, well, the government or the schools, and I love schools. Full transparency, my wife is the president of a board of directors that runs a local school. So, I mean, we love schools. I love schools. But the public schools, are one of the largest government agencies we have. So if the school has people, and most people within the school system care about kids, but they don't care about the kids at the school like they care about their own kids. Otherwise, many people within the school system would be trying to get your kids out of the school, because they don't send their own kids to that school. Why? Because they care about their children's education. Why would they send their kids to a school that is not as good as the schools that they want to send their kids to? I don't mean that as a dig. I mean that as to give an example of where the caring starts to change. All right? They care, but only to a certain degree. And how would you expect bureaucrats who are bean counters, looking at bottom lines, things become, your kids no longer have names, they're just data points. And now we need to do a collective fix for a particular cohort. And now the children stop being individuals. Now they're a cohort. Now they're a group. Now they become the kids that are living below the acceptable margin of XYZ factor in XYZ zip code, and therefore every child in that zip code becomes a child who just needs a little bit more time in a cafeteria with a better quality of food. If they weren't hungry, then they would learn. Well, maybe if they had food prepared for them in the morning by mom, they would learn. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't have to go to school and eat, because instead of some corporate entity making money off of school lunch, that money could help strengthen the few parents in the grand scheme of things who are having an issue feeding their kids at home. Even if the same entity that took the lunch to the schools, gave them to the home and let them be fed at home, would make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion.
Where's our families? Young man told me, I said to him, oh my goodness, I thought that guy had died. Because he had been gone for such a long time. And this young man said to me, oh no, he ain't died. And I said, in your temper, I said, your temper is so bad, someone's going to shoot you. You need to calm down. He said, so? Someone shoots me. He said, you know, I've been shot before. That person who died under your window, he's supposed to be dead. I mean, it doesn't matter if I die. And I'm looking at him, a young man, and I'm looking at him. My heart is, you know, he thinks nothing of his life, and he thinks nothing of anyone else's life. Well, I can't say he's always helping me, but help me go up the stairs, help me do that. Say, hey, Ma, you want me to help you do this? You know, I'm respectful, and you know, but when it comes to, I don't understand how he doesn't appear to care. There's some kind of caring somewhere in him, but there's a whole gang of them. There's a lot of them around my house, and I'm saying, oh Lord, what do you want me to do here? Do you want me to do something? Do you want me to say something? Because there's no care, no home, no. Where do all these people come from who act like this? They come from homes that mothers were home, taking care of them. What?
Well, I think we see in society a whole group of individuals who just, they've given up on caring. And you know, if you don't care about your own life, then chances are you're really not going to care about anyone else's life. And if you process life that, well, you know, so what if I die, I die.
Yeah.
If I die, I'm going to go out in a blaze of glory. Or so-and-so was supposed to be dead. You know, he's just dead. That's his time. You know, there's no beyond the now. And if there's no beyond the now, then the only thing that matters is me, myself, and I, and my interest right now. Only what serves me right now matters. So to the degree that people are helpful, it serves them to help you. They feel good because they helped you. It's not as much that they're trying to actually help you, it's that they're trying to feel good. And so I feel good for helping you. We have a lot of this with virtue signaling. You know, we say things and we want to show others that we quote unquote care, but in the real, we don't. Or what the word talks about, if you see a brother naked and hungry, or destitute and hungry, right? Without clothing, and you say, well, be warm, be fed, and go, and do nothing for him, then where are your works demonstrated? So I think the society has come to a place where to act like you care is more important than actually caring. Because we don't care. The society does not care. It's evident by the things you see happening. And those that do care are vilified. They're vilified for caring and trying to do something about it. So the society is really flipped. It's flipped. The things that were once taboo are now exalted, lifted up, celebrated. And the things that were once celebrated are made to be silly. So if you're a man and you open the door for a woman, somehow that's misogynistic and wrong. You know, it's just backwards. One of the viewers said here that she says, I was shopping the other day. This elderly couple walked to enter the store. The man was behind by some steps. She stood at the door and waited for the man to open the door for her. A big heart. Someone else says chivalry is not chivalry is still around. And my mother, another one, my mother passed away. My mother passed away right years ago. One thing that she did faithfully was to bless our comings and our goings. You know, you have a blessed day. Well, God bless you. Return home safe. I say to my kids every day when we pull in the driveway, I said, well, I've done my task and delivered you safe, unharmed, and alive. My mission has ended. Thank you for riding with Dad. And he get out of the car and run in the house and talk to Mom. But yes, you know, parents have a profound effect on the children, and it's lifelong. You know, when the kids become older. Now, my wife and I were talking yesterday because someone was saying, you know, I think we were watching the news, and the newscaster says, you know, when will we learn lessons from the past? You know, we're still learning lessons from the past. And it's my contention that you cannot learn lessons from the past because we live in the present, and people born in the present have to run their course. So it's sort of like saying, why do we have to keep crawling? I mean, we know crawling is not a best practice for transportation. Why don't people just walk right from the jump? We should have learned by now that crawling doesn't work. And crawling is part of the process. And I think the reason why you can look back and see the same things happening over and over again is because we don't live long enough to prevent them from happening over and over again. We die too young. I don't think we're designed to die at 100. I don't think we're designed to die at 65. We're designed to live a long, 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 long time. And because we don't, there are no elders, there's no seniors, there's no people with wisdom and knowledge to know. Don't do that. That's going to lead to totalitarianism. No, that will lead to dictatorship. No. They tried democracy some time ago. They tried communism time ago. That didn't work. They did that in the 6th millennium, and they wouldn't let it happen again. Like, you don't let certain things happen again, right? Because if you get in an argument with somebody and you understand what triggers them and you live long enough with someone, you say, all right, well, I can avoid this whole thing by just shutting up. Mm-hmm. But you had to learn that. Yeah. And now the wisdom that comes with best practices, because you know something, you don't repeat the same mistakes, and those in your orbit can learn from your wisdom. But once you die and all that wisdom goes with you, the generation behind you has to learn on their own.
So they reinvent the wheel.
Every 40 years you have a new generation come. You have a new this, a new that, a new civil rights movement. As long as there's the United States in the context of the race the way it is here, every 40 years you're going to have another civil rights movement, because nothing changes. Nothing changes. It's the same thing. And the Bible talks about that. There's nothing new under the sun. The older people die. The young people don't know. What was done before will be done again. Not because it can't stop, but because that's the cycle of development from birth to death. And if you lived longer, it wouldn't happen. That's my theory. I think we don't live long enough. If we lived Methuselah age,
we could do something.
But we die as children. Imagine sitting in a room with people 300 years old. Now just imagine what they could tell you about the thing you think is so devastating. Well, I had to wait a whole year. A year? I waited 100 years to join up with such and such a society, 100 years. And that was nothing.
Yes.
That was nothing. 100 years. It takes 100 years before you can learn the formula for transparent aluminum. I mean, you would know so much wisdom. You could remember back when, because you would know, and the collective wisdom. And imagine being in a room where there's 60, 70 people, all 300 to 400 years old, and what they could share in knowledge and work together toward solutions. You have 35-year-olds making decisions on world peace. It's laughable.
That's right. 35 years old.
I know that's offensive to the 35-year-olders, but I mean, really.
Well, the first time this young man came up and said to me, I met him and he was introduced to me as a bishop. He was a young man. I said, "You're a bishop?" I couldn't believe he was a bishop, because in my head, a bishop is a senior person, not a young 30-something-year-old man. How could a 30-something-year-old man be a bishop? But he was a bishop.
Title.
Just a title, isn't it?
That's a title, bishop. Now you refer to me as bishop. I was ordained a bishop last year. And God.
I just have to laugh. I mean, how can you be young and be a bishop?
You don't know enough. You don't
possibly know
the
enough.
depth of experience you need that only comes with age. Like, I'm at the African American Alliance. Now, there are some people younger than me, but the majority of the people there, I'm one of the young people. I'm 62. And it doesn't take long before you realize that you don't have the depth of experience and knowledge in many, many areas. You just don't. You won't. There's some things you won't understand and know until you are 70. Because you haven't experienced them.
No.
You can't. You can't. So at 35, how are you going to be a bishop and have authority over several churches and the leaders of those churches with the depth of knowledge and experience to be able to relate to the congregants who are 80 years old? You are self-delusion. Because the 80-year-old is not going to respect anything you say, because they know you don't know anything. They're not even going to tell you don't know anything.
They're just going to look at
They're
you.
just going to look at you. Well, bless your heart, son. I'm sorry, Bishop. It's absurd.
Somebody told me the other day that her minister got upset. Minister is 28 years old. Got upset because of the way someone was looking at him. I said he got upset because somebody was looking at him. He just didn't like the way someone was looking at him, and he just, kind of got upset and went off a little bit, and so he decided he was going to listen to this group of people and not listen to that group of people. I said, "Oh my God, 20." He's a minister, I said, he's the minister. I just couldn't believe that he was a minister. I mean, I've never met the man,
Mm-hmm.
but I just heard his story,
Mm-hmm.
which does not make sense.
Mm-hmm.
he's got all these people to look after, and he's worried about somebody looking at him.
Right. That's one. It's his actions are inconsistent with so many things that there's he's a the Bible talks about being a novice, and I don't say these things that sound elitist or to put to shame or to belittle anyone. The person desire the work of the Lord, they desire a good work. Nothing wrong with that, but there are certain things that come with time. Like being an admiral of the fleet. You can't just become an admiral. You can't just become the captain of the ship. What do you know about this vessel? What do you know about its operating systems? What do you know about
being a captain?
Being a captain and having men and women under your command.
What a responsibility that is.
Right. You can be the captain or commander of a nuclear submarine or aircraft carrier and understand how the fleet works and the group works, and just there's this because you've had opportunity to come up through the ranks, to understand the roles and responsibilities. You've excelled and become the cream of the crop at every level, so that you're not there for glory's sake. You're not there because we need a quota to fill. You're there because you understand how this thing works, and when called upon, can actually do the job
and make a good decision.
That impacts hundreds of thousands of people. So when we have people that are in positions of leadership, they're not just there for glory's sake and to hang a shingle on their door or to put something in their resume. You're in charge of folk and make decisions that impact their lives in ways that are irrevocable.
Don't ask me the word irreversible. I don't know. I know what word you want to say, but I can't say it.
Right, I can't say the word.
I had something in my mind before you asked me about that word.
Mm-hmm.
It blew out, but I'll get it back in a minute. I
hit the mute button instead of that button. I was drinking some lemonade when she was talking. So, when people make decisions, these decisions affect multitudes of people, and they're not trivial.
No, they're not trivial. And having I'm not making any digs there, but having a piece of paper does not make you smart.
No.
Does not make you able to lead a flock. Does not make you able to do a whole lot of things, but it does say you can remember stuff. You could pass a test.
Mm-hmm.
You could get an A. But until you actually do these things, it doesn't mean anything really.
Well, most real tests have to be threefold minimum. And the theory, the written, the oral. That's like four. There's really four things. And then the practical. So, theory, written, oral, practical. That's four. The theory, I think there's a lot of people who are gifted. And, you talk about the test takers. A lot of people are very gifted. Theoretically, they understand it. So in theory, they know. And if you work in an environment that it's only theory, then that's fabulous. You're good. But if you got to put the theory into practice, there's a whole nother leap
that you have to go through.
Right. Can you articulate what you say you know? Can you, an oral exam. So can you articulate? Can you tell me how to do this? Even though I don't know, can you instruct me? Can you instruct someone else to do the work? They have hands, eyes, and can execute whatever you tell them. So can you tell them? So you may be able to. Well, I know the word I want to say, but I can't figure out what it is. Then you fail to communicate. So you the theory is different than articulate. Can you write it? Can you express it in words by writing it down? And then the most important part is practice. Now, practice takes time to perfect.
There is the difference when I was working at the hospital. The difference between the 3-year nurse and the 4-year nurse.
Mm-hmm.
The 3-year nurse is hospital trained.
Mm-hmm.
She runs a floor in her 2nd or 3rd year. She's running the floor. She's doing all of this. Now the 4-year nurse, or the University of Harvard nurse,
mm-hmm.
has like one day, couple of days. She or he goes to the OR and they look. A 3-year nurse is going to get on that floor, going to scrub, going to assist that doctor, is going to run a room, going to do all of those things. But a 4-year nurse is very closely supervised, and she only does one thing, and she does this and she does that. So when I was there, it was a 3-year nurse that, to me, that was the nurse.
Right.
Not the 4-year nurse. It was the 3-year nurse.
And by 3-year nurse, she means the person who's been on the job for 3 years.
For 3, you know,
the 4-year nurse is a person who came out of school.
Is coming out of going back and forth.
Right.
A couple of hours maybe
mm-hmm.
in the hospital, and but she's the one actually that the 4-year nurse is the one that got the accolades.
She has the paper.
She has the paper, so that was power. The 3-year nurse was just a nurse, a good nurse who could run the floor.
Who keep people alive.
The 4-year nurse was not the same.
So could the 4-year, what would happen if the 4-year nurse was on the floor and they were the only ones there?
That, first of all, that would not happen.
It can't happen.
It can't happen.
Folk would die.
Right. But the time you're in your 3rd year,
mm-hmm.
In nursing, I was at Harvard Hospital in the 60s, and I was at St. Francis Hospital from the time I was 14 till I was 16, and it was the 3-year nurse that did everything. Mm-hmm. She ran the floor. She did everything. She did everything. Yeah, she had supervisors, but she did everything. I and I loved working with them. Mm-hmm. A 4-year nurse, you just saw them every once in a while. You didn't build a friendship with them or a relationship with them because they were in and out, you know. But it was a 3-year nurse who ran the floor. Now they don't have 3-year nurses; they have 2-year nurses, and hospitals don't train nurses anymore. You got to go to school, and there's no 3 years now. There's 2-year nurses. You can be an RN in 2 years. You're a year of school and a year of on training in the hospital. So now there's a 2-year nurse and a 4-year nurse.
So so what would be, a part of me wants to say that the old way was better, but then if it was better, one would think that that's what they would still do. So what is
patient care? If you want to say better, you're going to say it was better in patient care.
Okay.
Back then, it is more computers, and they do your risk with that thing that they do with food when you go into a store. Mm-hmm. Every time you get something, there's not that bedside manner. Of course, doctors don't have that bedside manner anymore. That's like gone. You're a client. You're not a patient. And so when I look at nurses, I really like nurses in their uniform. Nurses could look like anything now, and you don't get the care. So no, you don't get
standards have really dropped.
Oh, if you made a bed that had wrinkles in it, that wasn't tight, and someone had to be in the bed all the time, and they didn't move a lot. They could end up with bed sores and they'd be sore. So that was very important of how you made that bed. And believe me, you made it right. Or there was help to pay. So you didn't have fitted sheets. You had just a regular flat sheet. And you made that bed tight. And when someone rang a bell or when someone, you checked on that patient and made sure that everything was all right. You had a certain amount of patience. I don't see that. I go visit my friends. I don't see that at all. I don't see patient care the way it was before. It's a lot of improvement. All these computers in the hall and everybody's sitting at a computer and every once in a while they come in and, and of course there's always one person who really is a caretaker, who really cares about that patient. But that's not, I don't see it as the norm.
Well, I think that's the key in probably our conversation today is caring. People just don't care.
No.
Anyway, care is on a steep decline. Folks have shifted what they care about. They care about money. They care about the speed in which you can get something done so that you can make more money. They don't care about the person whom they're giving service to. And they basically are caring about themselves. It used to be that you provided care. You cared about your customers. You cared about your clients. You cared about your patients. You cared about how others perceived you and the quality of your work. The work ethic is gone because people they don't act like they care about what you think about the work they do. People do the bare minimum to get through. They don't go over and above. It used to be that you went over and above. You went beyond what the expectation was. You over-delivered because that spoke to who you were and it spoke to the quality of your work. There was craftsmanship in everything that people did. And now it's just, the bare minimum. If a machine can do it and that's fine. There's no more
care. There's no more
caring. And that has negatively impacted everything. So if you have elected officials that don't care, it's just a job. I do what's expected. If you have mechanics that do that, if you have teachers that do that, if you have police officers that do that,
you don't have to join that club.
Absolutely.
You don't have to join that club. You could care and not be a part of all of that, although it might be difficult for some people, but you just don't have to do it. And I think that's a choice that we need to know that we have, because all our young people don't know they have that choice. They don't have to join that club. You don't have to hide your feelings if you have them. You could be who you are. You don't really have to get on that bandwagon. I would like to tell every kid that you don't have to go over there. You don't have to do that. Really don't.
I think those are good words to end on. Yeah, those are good words. You don't have to join that club.
The non-caring club you don't have to be part of.
That's
yeah.
Yes. Be the one that makes the difference. Care about people. Just care. And just care. Have a little empathy and a little compassion. And it shouldn't be based on whether or not someone else is being compassionate towards you.
Right.
That doesn't mean that you can't be the source of the caring. Yeah.
Young people don't know that.
Well,
A lot of people, the young people, don't know that they have a choice.
mm-hmm.
They don't have to. They don't have to live that way. You know that person over there that they laughing at? You could be like that if you want. You don't have to stay over here and be the one laughing at everybody who cares.
There you go.
You know.
All right. Miss Cleo Duke-Wright is here every Friday for Morning Talk. Join us Monday. Jonathan Small will be here on Wednesday. Dr. Maya Bowen and Luis Delgado. And then again next Friday, back to Miss Cleo Duke-Wright. Well, thanks for coming in, Miss Cleo.
You're very welcome. I love being here. You know that.
Oh, yes, and I love having you here. It makes the program complete. It makes the day complete. So, share the program with family, friends, and folk. Keep them in the know. And have a great rest of your day and go care about somebody. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.